This week on Wealth Track, building a sound foundation for retirement. Award-winning financial planner Erin Botsford starts with guaranteed income first to make sure retirement needs are covered. The Botsford Group's Erin Botsford next on Consuelo Mack Wealth Track. Tell us about why you've gone to insurance as opposed to the stock and bond markets for meeting the income needs.
Well, that's a really great question. And I will tell you this, I think that it's interesting that we as consumers tend to buy a lot of insurance. Like, I bet all of your listeners have health insurance, right?
Right.
In case they get sick, they want to transfer that risk of the hospital stay to somebody else, i.e. an insurance company. We all have automobile insurance, comprehensive and liability insurance. And most people, probably listening to you, if their car was completely damaged, totaled,
right,
they could probably write a check to buy their next car. But they have that car insurance, and then they have mortgage insurance in case their house burns down. Well, I keep thinking, the most important, the single greatest amount of money is needed to support your lifestyle in retirement. So, say for 40 years. So why would you not want to insure or transfer the risk of a market meltdown to an insurance company? Mm-hmm. It makes perfect sense to me.
One of the things that you said earlier, annuities have gotten a bad rap because they number one, they can be extremely expensive, they can be extremely complicated. And many financial advisors don't actually recommend them because if you buy an annuity for some financial advisors, it's taken out of their assets under management so they don't get a fee on it. So there are a lot of reasons why annuities have gotten a bad rap. Have they improved? Are there more choices now? I mean, is it and is it something that we should look at, again, annuities as a core part of funding my basic needs part of my portfolio?
Yes, and you said it.
Yeah.
It's as a core part of funding your basic essential needs, things that I call them your non-negotiable items. You don't want to wake up one morning and the market's tanked by 50% and you wonder, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to pay my mortgage payment? You don't want that. So there's some level of security, I think, that you want to put in your portfolio. So I don't really know. I will say this, it's kind of interesting because there's a lot of financial advisors, truthfully, they do not maintain the appropriate licenses to sell annuities.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if I was a person that all I could sell were Mercedes cars,
right,
and somebody came to me looking for a Lexus, but I couldn't sell them a Lexus, would I recommend that they go down the street and buy a Lexus?
You're not going to offer it to them.
You kind of have to figure out what's the motivator there. And so there's a lot of advisors in the last 10 or 15 years, they gave up their FINRA securities licenses so they can't touch or recommend annuities.
So that's interesting. So that's an important credential to look for then. Therefore, there are a lot of different kinds of annuities. What are the annuities that kind of are the go-to annuities that you think that we should be at least considering, again, to fund our basic needs in retirement?
Well, in my book, I talk about there's 4 types of annuities, and I try and make it very basic. The first kind, I call it a pension annuity, and that would be, a lot of people retire from big companies like IBM, and when they retire, after 30 years, they get a pension of $60,000 a year. And what's the problem with that? Is usually, maybe they can insure them and their spouse, but there's nothing left for the kids. But I always try and say, I'm a product agnostic. Now, what if you came to me, Consuelo, and you said, I've got an 83-year-old mother, and all she has left is $300,000. I want to get her, she's very independent. She wants to live on her own. I want to get her the largest amount of income I can get. And I'd say, well, gosh, she's 83 years old. If you could put her in one of these pension annuities and probably get her a 8 or 9% return. The negative part is you give the money to the insurance company. When she dies, chances are there's no benefit. But most people say, I don't care. She wants to maintain dignity. She wants to be able to support herself. So that's one kind. The second kind are just fixed annuities, and they're very much just like a CD or certificate of deposit. And so it's just you give the insurance company set amount of money, $100,000. They pay you a fixed rate of return, 2 to 3 to 4 years. They give you your money back.
Right.
And it's interesting. In my state of Texas, or we do business in Texas and Georgia, one of the reasons people buy annuities in that situation is Texas offers asset protection. So if I'm a doctor and I have liability risk on my money, instead of putting my $1 million in a CD at a bank, if I put my $1 million in an annuity, a fixed annuity in the state of Texas, they actually get asset protection. So I would encourage your listeners to find out what the liability and asset protection laws are in the various states that they reside in, because that's kind of interesting. And then the third kind are variable annuities, and I think I talked about that in the last time we were here, but we can certainly explore that later. And then the newer one that's kind of come along are equity indexed annuities. And I should say, Consuelo, there's no perfect investment.
No, we all know that.
And so I think, there's pros and cons to each one of them, and I don't think all of any kind of annuity is perfect. There's a lot of junk out there.
What role does the stock and bond market have in your basic needs portfolio? Does it play any role whatsoever?
Well, I think that's a great question, and I haven't always used annuities.
No, I know you haven't.
You have to go where you have to go.
Right.
20 years ago, I was trading bonds. I was a big bond trader, and when you could get 8 or 10% yield on a municipal bond even, or a corporate bond, that's where we went.
Right.
But that doesn't exist anymore. So, you have to change with the times and be open to anything. Because I used to, like I said, I'm a product agnostic right now, but I used to not be quite that open-minded, I think.